Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today we continue our Better Beatmaker series right here at BusyWorksBeats.com/BetterBeatmaker. You guys will get the project files for free for whatever we create. If you don't know me, I'm Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. We trained over 1 million producers around the world, so I'm going to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, French Montana, Young Thug, Lil Baby, Trippie Redd, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, a long list of other folks. So I found a sample. I loaded it up in Serato Sample and it has a dope bass line. So let me find it. So I'm going to do it at 140 BPM. Normally we would do this at 70. I guess to be fair, let's do it at 70 because we need the swing parameter for the drum. So let's go to 70 BPM and then hit ×2. Okay, let's record this. Okay, so I would never be able to play that bass like that. So that's what sampling is for. Let's hit Control Q. I'm going to hit Control L. So we're going to build around that groove. Normally I build around drums, but because that bass is so just perfect, we're going to build around the bass. Now we need to find some drums. So it's best that you guys just stack up a bunch of drum breaks. Look on Reddit, look everywhere online for just drum breaks. You just want drum breaks because you could chop them up. Now, a lot of drum breaks, though, are thin. So that's the only thing about drum breaks is they're pretty thin sometimes. And to really get a thick sound, you're probably going to have to swap out the kicks because they're just not punchy enough for hip hop. So instead of using one shots, we're going to use a break, and then we're going to chop that break up. The thing is, let me think for a second. I think I have an Alchemist kit. Now, a lot of people use one shots, which is fine too, but drum breaks give you a texture that you can't just get with one shots. So let's go to my trusty kit. So I'm listening to the snare and doesn't match the tone of the record. Snares are very bright. Okay, so I like this one. Let's open this and slice. I'll show you guys how to use your keyboard. We're going to right click and go to layout slice and then make sure your root note is C, octave 4. And now you could use your typing keyboard to trigger slice. The only thing is this doesn't have hi-hats, so that's tricky. So we got to find hi-hats from a different record. Now in this case, we're going to follow that bass. We're not going to use swing, where it goes like that. Okay, so I just kind of switched it up. We recorded my mic by accident, so let's do this. Now for this groove, because everything's quantized, I'm just going to quantize drums. We're not using the swing parameter, so there's no real need to be off the grid. We just want the texture of the drums. Now these, normally Alchemist is a swing parameter, but this sample is telling me to not add swing. So you got to know when to read the music. It's kind of like read the room. Every song doesn't need swing on it. Let me show you what swing would sound like. I don't think we have any back-to-back notes, but see how the swing doesn't match the groove of the bass? So not every record needs swing. The lesson there is to grab drum breaks. Now, if you want your drums to hit harder, there's a standard clip plugin that's like 25 bucks. That's pretty good, but I'd highly recommend the gold clip plugin because it just takes the drums where they need to be. So I'll show you guys what standard clip sounds like. The goal is we're going to push the input until it kind of takes off the top end of that kick. You still goes like it squares it off. Now that snare doesn't match this vibe. But that's how you get your kicks to hit a little bit harder. So we're probably gonna have to go back and swap out the snare, but I'll show you guys how to do it. Okay, now let's add stuff around this sample to add a vibe to it. I have my keyboard plugged up, so we're just gonna add little background notes. If anything, we're gonna delay our drums a little bit using that wrench tool. Just turn up time shift just a little bit so it's not super on the grid. Okay, now let's find other instruments to add. So let's just add little tiny notes. We're not trying to fill out this entire track. So just little subtle notes. We're playing the root note G. So nothing crazy. We don't want to overly feel it. We want to feel like that sound came from the record. I might redo the drums so that it's not just like following the record, because it kind of, we want to make this hip hop. So let me quickly show you guys. Let's say you don't have drum breaks for some reason. Let's look for, I swore I had a kit similar to the Alchemist. Did I put T? Let me find this, y'all. All right, so here's some stuff. I think they have one shots. They also have loops in here. So let's find let's find a snare that matches this vibe. That snare is pretty cool. This snare matches a little bit better. Let's find a harder kick though. That works. All right, so we're gonna trim this to get rid of that silence in the beginning trim. Remember, our keyboard set the layout piano. We need to make sure it's layout piano C4. So let's use one shots for now. Just trim this hi-hat, fade it out. I still don't hear swing on this, even if I add this kick. So there's no swing. Swing is when you have two notes back to back. In that case, we didn't have any opportunities to swing the parameter. So again, sometimes there's no hard rule like you have to add boom bap swing every single beat. Okay, let's double click. Let's add Alt Q. I think we could find a harder kick than that one. That one's kind of weak. We need something that's more rounded out. These are very thin. reroute this to track 3. Yes, the kick is just not what it needs to be. So let's find another kick here. If I can't find any in here, then I'll probably use some synthetic sounding kicks. Again, acoustic kicks are cool for the tone. Most of the time, they don't have enough synthetic punch to them. So it's going to be tough to really make a kick sound the way you guys hear it on the record. That's why people layered kicks. They would layer a synthetic kick with a more acoustic kick. Let's try some of these. Even that kick's kind of like... So the snare is weak. We're going to send it into that standard clip. When you push it into that saturator, it adds that crunch sound. Again, that kick is just not the kick. Let me just use the kick that I like. Now, every kick, like every song does not use trap beats or kicks, I mean. So you guys got to get used to just being okay with acoustic, not sounding as full as trap. But this kick's going to be a little bit better match. Something in here is making this kick sound weak. I want to figure. Why does it sound like? Oh, I faded it off. That's why. Also, let me turn off the bass. All right, so I think we had just phase issues going. That's why it sounded thin. There we go. And I turned the volume down. I didn't realize. All right, so now we have that. So the kick has to like hit. Can't have a kick that doesn't hit. But this kick is almost too hard for this genre. This sound, I mean. This is why. This snare is too bright, so let's use Mod X to add a low pass filter to it. By default, under the envelope tab, you can change this filter type, but let's set it to a low pass. Let's push the drums a little bit harder through the saturator. So this snare just isn't the snare that is going to crunch up. We need something a little more round. This is why I said this stuff takes time. We're not going to use trap snares for this. So that's why I usually start my sound selection with the snare. The snare has to fit the vibe. Hopefully we get lucky and find a snare. This will be a little bit better, but it's still thin. Like, I'll do this one and I'll show you guys how to enhance this. We can only enhance what's already there though. So what I'm going to do is boost up the low end of the snare and then run it through our saturator that we had on channel 3. So I know it's a lot of work, but the snare has to match the vibe. Also, I'm going to tune it. It's a little long. Let's fade it out. Let's push the volume into the clipper. So I like the sound of the clipper. The issue that I'm having here is just the levels. So I'm going to separate the snare from the kick. That way I can turn down the level of the snare without affecting the kick. So I'll keep the same settings, but turn the output down. So we're getting the tone, but not the loudness. All right, that snare fits a little bit better. Take Control L. I'm going to record the hi-hat by hand just for little subtle differences. All right, so just those little timing. Just embrace the time differences. Wonder what happens if we run the sample through that saturator. Now the record feels a little more cohesive. I like the sound. So I'm running the bass and the kick through that same soft clipper, standard clip. Okay, so now we need like ear candy stuff. So I'm gonna either find stuff in my synthesizer, or we need to look inside of, we need to look for vocal chops of some sort. Let's see if we can come up with a different ending here. So I'm just gonna move these chops. That's how we can create change ups over time without it getting repetitive. Also, the sample is a little early, so I'm gonna go to the wrench tool, turn up time shift for Serato. So now we're lining up that bass behind the kick. It's gonna give us a more full sound. So that's what the groove is all about. Now let's just find vibey sound. Let me show you how to make the snare fit in. We're going to add a reverb, and we're going to make the reverb signal more monophonic so it's not so wide. We could use a simple reverb like Fruity Reverb too. It doesn't need to be complicated. We're going to pull the separation here to the right, which is mono. We're going to turn the wet level up, dry level down. I'm going to send the snare over to this reverb. That way it has what I could do is separate out the frequencies. This might get too complicated. Let's add a frequency splitter. I only want the high end to be sent to our reverb. This may or may not work because actually, yeah, they have a dB. So anyhow, we want the highs and mids. So let's set this to, all right, let's set the range here to where the mid frequencies go all the way up. And we're gonna send these out. This is we have to create a side chain here. So for the reverb, we're gonna right click side chain to this track, go back to the frequency splitter, right click and select an output, in this case, the reverb. So now all the middles, we're sending a duplicate of the middle frequencies and that's being sent to the reverb. So we're still getting the top end of that kick. Let's add a little frequency modulation to the reverb here. some of the lows below about 300 hertz. Let's give it a longer decay curvature. And then we can even get weird with this and add a fruity stereo shaper, stereo enhancer. But that makes it stereo. All right, let's start adding more textures here. So now we have a vibe. So now we're just doing a stereo spread to fill out the density of the track a little bit more. So here's what I want. I want the kick separated from that group because I don't want to widen the kick. So what I need to do is hit Control L on the kick. I can't find the kick. Where's the kick? Boom, Control L, send it to its own mixer channel and have the same settings from standard clip. So basically we're just gonna right click, file, save mixer state track as, drag it over to your kick, rename this like kick, and then we're gonna turn off the plugins we don't need. So now we still have the same processing, but it's not widened. So that way the bass is widened, but not the kick. So we can turn this down if we wanted to. So now we still need like that vibey thing. So I'm still looking for that sound. Just adding those second harmonics that shape the tone of the kick a little bit more. I think bells fit the creepy vibe for this, so that's why I'm using so many bells. That one had a reverb built in, so it had that monophonic reverb sound. I think it needs a little pitch vibrato to sound more creepy. Let's have my plugin called Hades at busyworksbeats.com/Hades. Right now I'm messing with the timing of the kick, delaying it, see how it fits against that bass. if I can find any other sounds in here. I can't think of any other sounds. I think the sounds I would add are going to be like human vocals at this point. So here's my last trick for this kind of vibe. What I'll usually do is I'll go to Tools, Macros, switch all audio clips, stretch mode. So this is going to stretch everything to match the tempo. Then I'm going to go back to Tools, Macro, all audio clips, resample. So this allows me to change the tone if I change the tempo. So what I usually do is slow it down or speed it up to get different tones at this point. The only thing here I forgot to do is let's print the original. I forgot we need to print the audio first before doing this because it needs to be in audio form. Right now it's not in audio form, so I didn't do anything but just detune everything away from the sample. But that is a technique I use. It will eat up a little bit of time here. And let me see if I can. We need to render this. I'm trying to think what else do we need to render to audio. The drums would also need to be rendered to audio because I don't think it pitches down drums. Could be wrong. Let me mute this. Okay, I was wrong. Okay, it does. So what I will do, I'm really debating if I want to render this. All right, let's just render it. So let's go to consolidate from track, time selection here. We're going to cut the remainder 16-bit and trim, just copy the settings. All right, now from here, it's in audio form. We could double click, go to mode. So basically what we did was just double click, went to mode, turned it to stretch mode. So now when we move the tempo, it won't do anything to the sample. It'll keep it locked, but it also keeps the same tone. So to get different tones, but to also keep it locked, because this time value is set, we can now change the sample time without the thing moving. So, or excuse me, not the sample time, but the sample style without this time knob moving. So now it's on resample, and now it will, when I change the tempo, it will sound like everything else. And now our ear can really hear the difference between that bass and that kick. So for, let's say you wanted to up the BPM, we could right click, create an automation clip, move to your desired BPM, 70 in this case. Let's right click, copy the value. I'm going to right click a point, paste. Oops, I hit the wrong button. We need to go up to 70 again. Hit C instead of V. Right click, copy, right click, paste with V, and then right click, paste that value. So now you have 62 and then 70 over here. So I'll have both slowed down and original on this right side here. All right, so let's play this all the way through. right, so I went to add the vocals through Hades, the plugin, because I had it routed incorrectly. So that is that. You guys can get the project files for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/betterbeatmaker to get these project files for free. It'll be included with your course. So thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you're new, like this video, share with a friend. Peace.